Thank you very much. I'll start off with our first meeting of the Commission. We met on the 11th of January, soon after our appointment on the 6th. And one of the first things we did was to raise the retirement age for civil servants from 55 to 60 years. We felt that was a progressive step, progressive move, because 55 years is too young for people to retire. People live longer now, they are more productive, and we would like them to work longer in the civil service as well as outside if they want to live and go and work outside. And we felt that 60 years would be a good start for us, because we're moving up from 55 to 60. For certain professions, like nurses and doctors, the retirement age can be extended further to beyond 60 years of age. And that's already happening, where there is a shortage of skilled staff in the service. So there is provision for people to work beyond 60 years if government wishes to, and if the officer is agreeable to work beyond 60 years. But as a general policy, the retirement age has been increased from 55 to 60 years. Now, we were in New Zealand last month, and we asked them, what is the retirement age? They said there is no retirement age. People retire when they are ready to retire, or maybe if government feels, that there's a need for them, maybe on medical reasons or some other reasons, or maybe there might be a restructuring in the workforce that requires certain people, to be not to leave, but maybe to be re-engaged in other activities. And not only in New Zealand, but we also found out that in Australia there is no retirement age for them. They can work on for as long as they wish. But as I said, in other countries, in India, in Japan, the retirement age is much higher than 60 years of age. The second thing that we did was to remove the contracting of civil servants being put on contract. I think the previous government had introduced that for people to be appointed on contract. That has been removed. The only people that are on contract are the permanent secretaries. They are appointed on contract, and people who are required for short-term projects of a limited duration, they are also put on contract. But other than that, the contract has been removed. Now people are on permanent appointment, or in some places they call it permanent contract, in the sense that there is no restriction. They can work for as long as they wish, and for as long as the government also wish them to stay in office. There is no contract there. Now, that's another question that we found out from New Zealand. In New Zealand, they're very much like us now. Only permanent secretaries, or what they call chief executive officers, are on contract. The rest are on permanent appointment. In Australia, it's also the same. In Australia, the top 3 positions, like the equivalent of permanent secretaries, and 2 or 3 other positions, top positions, are on contract. The rest are on permanent appointment or permanent contracts, and they work for as long as they wish. So those were two main areas, or 2 main policy areas that we initiated, and I think so far so good in terms of the service. People are converting from contract to permanent appointment in the civil service. And we feel that that is good for the service and good for the officer. The other thing that we introduced was we quickly worked on reinstating the High Salaries Commission. We found out that salaries, particularly in the public sector remuneration and salaries, these are organizations outside of the civil service, but still within the public sector entities or public sector bodies, government companies, wholly owned by government or majority owned by government. We found that salaries were going up in leaps and bounds. There seems to be little coordination or little control on the salaries. Each organization was sort of competing who pays the highest. And I don't think that was good for the country and good for the stability of the country, because everything was just moving up. There was little control, little coordination on that. So we are reinstating the Higher Salaries Commission. The act has already been passed, and I think the new commission should be appointed in the new year. We recruited 12 permanent secretaries already since the beginning of this year. The government wanted us to recruit permanent secretaries, particularly where positions were vacant, and some positions people had resigned, and others, that government felt we needed to replace those positions or people who were holding those positions. So altogether we recruited 12. There are 3 more that are currently being recruited. So altogether by next year, by middle of next year, we should have 15 new permanent secretaries altogether in the service. And we've also introduced a new contract system for permanent secretaries. The new contract also has values, civil service, public service values, codes of conduct, and also a new performance management framework for monitoring and evaluating the performance of permanent secretaries. And we are working very closely with permanent secretaries in terms of them being able to work together and work cooperatively with their ministers. Now we want the permanent secretaries and the ministers to work together. Of course, we also have a role in ensuring that permanent secretaries do perform in terms of the requirements of the civil service, in terms of the requirements of the various rules and regulations that are in force, and in terms of their contract itself. There is an ongoing monitoring and evaluation of the performance of permanent secretaries, which we do together with them and the ministers concerned in those areas. The other thing that we're looking into is the various guidelines that are in operation in the public service. We from the Public Service Commission and also the Ministry of the Public Service, we don't have a say in the running of ministries. The ministries are run by the permanent secretaries with the agreement of the minister. That's explicitly stated in the Constitution. Gone are the days where, say, 16 years back, the public service was run principally by the Public Service Commission, of course, working together with permanent secretaries, heads of departments, and of course, ministers. But the 2013 Constitution specifically states that the running of the ministry in every sphere aspect is by the permanent secretaries with the agreement of the minister. However, we come in to assist permanent secretaries in the performance of their role and their responsibilities. And that's why I mentioned we come up with all kinds of guidelines. Guidelines on recruitment. You might have heard about the merit principle, ORMS. That apparently has a lot of snags and difficulties at the moment in terms of the implementation of the open merit recruitment system. A lot of departments, particularly large departments like education, are having difficulties in implementing the open merit recruitment principle. So we're looking at reviewing those guidelines. So that's just an example, of the various guidelines that we have in the service that we're looking at in terms of not only reviewing those guidelines, but probably coming up with some new guidelines. And they are meant to assist permanent secretaries in the management of their respective ministries and departments. There are a number of challenges. I think the biggest one is we find that, again, because the servers are being run by the ministries and departments, and what we find that in most ministries and departments, they've lost a lot of the top positions, top positions below permanent secretaries. The previous government has had to redefine, or in some cases, abolished most top positions. And that's becoming an impediment as far as the ministers and the permanent secretaries in the management of their ministries. So we are working together with them to try and bring back some of those positions, at deputy secretary level, at director level. I'm talking about the senior position at permanent secretary and director level, to support and to underpin the permanent secretaries in the performance of their duties. I think the previous government concentrated more on the ministers and the permanent secretaries and forgot the people below the line, I think that has been an ongoing, not criticism, but an ongoing complaints that we receive, not only from permanent secretaries, but also from ministers. The need to beef up support for the permanent secretaries in terms of the carrying out their roles and responsibilities. So we're looking at that, and we're working very closely with the permanent secretaries in terms of looking at the structure, looking at the organizational arrangements, and how we can better equip them to perform their duties and responsibilities. As I said, we are more in assisting permanent secretaries, or trying to facilitate their work. We don't run the ministries anymore like it used to be in the past. I think the present government wants the PSC and the Ministry of Civil Service to get back some of the responsibilities, some of the functions that they used to perform in the past. Only some, not all, so that we can work together with permanent secretaries and ministers in terms of improving their management role and their management functions. And also, at the end of the day, it goes down to service delivery. How can you improve services to the public? Yeah. The other one is, I think, is the issue of red tape. There are too many restrictions we find, too many requirements. You have to fill forms, you have to bring this, your identification, you have to bring your birth certificate, you have to do all these things. And most of these is causing a lot of difficulties, particularly with the members of the public, who are being required to come up with these sorts of requirements by government. So we're looking at that, trying to streamline and trying to reduce the amount of red tape that's coming up. We had a classic case recently, whereby the government approved the topping up of pensions, to those FNPF pensioners who had lost pension, through the arbitrary, unilateral decision made by the previous government to reduce the FNPF pensions. Because at that time, the government were concerned, were worried that if they kept paying those higher FNPF pensions, the pension fund might go bankrupt, So recently the government agreed, to give an additional pension assistance to those people of $125 a month if you're over 70 years, or $115 a month below 70 years. And what had happened was the responsibility was given to the Ministry of Women and Social Welfare. But we found out that things didn't work according to the plan by the government, to facilitate that payment. So we went and had a look at it and suggested, why can't FNPF handle it? Because they have all the data, they have all the information, they have the infrastructure, to support those kind of things. I think they've sort of not only digitized their data, their system, and that went back to FNPF, and FNPF agreed. FNPF said, no problem. So long as the instructions are clear and you give us the money to pay, we'll pay it. And that's what happened. So, in one sweep, they managed to, they paid the 5 months pay from December to now, and from now onwards, Whereas giving it to the Ministry of Social Welfare, as I said, there are a lot of requirements, papers, identification, bank statement. Pensioners are being given the runaround from pillar to post to get there. I mean, that's just one example, of the amount of red tape that's going on in government, and that's a big challenge for us. We have to address that. We need to do that, if we are to ensure that we provide an efficient level of service to members of the public. We're here to help the community, help members of the public. If there are complaints, we look into those complaints. And if there are genuine complaints, we'll work to address them. There are many things, many issues that needs to be addressed to help members of the public, get faster service, improve the level of productivity of the system, of the public service, and also improve the country as a whole in terms of the progress and development of the country. So we are quite willing, we're quite open not to listen to complaints or representation coming from members of the public, and we'll do our best not to address their needs and whatever they want from government. For us, the civil service, as far as the civil service is concerned, most important is to maintain the integrity of the service. And the civil service has to be neutral, has to be apolitical, and has to be responsive, to the needs of the public, and free of political patronage. No, we don't want the civil service to be politicized. I think it's against conventions. We are here to serve the government of the day, irrespective of people's political affiliation. Civil service has to be apolitical, has to be neutral, and has to be impartial, and also be responsive to the needs of the people. We are not here to serve people only because of their party loyalty and those sorts of things. That has finished. After election, everybody should be treated equally. The government is there for everybody. I'm not a politician. That's for the politician. But as far as the Commission is concerned, we want to maintain an impartial, apolitical, and neutral public service. And as I said, most important, that it is free of political patronage, We don't want people trying to politicize the service or bringing in their own political links from outside into the public service. That's why we don't want that. Yeah, well, the other thing is, of course, we want to work together with ministries and departments. Of course, with permanent secretaries, with ministers, we have no problem. If ministers call us, they want anything. But so long as it is all centered on service delivery, rather than personalities, per se, yes, we like to improve our working together with permanent secretaries, so that, they provide the best service that the country demands from them. And we are there to support permanent secretaries in every way we can. Well, as I said, we've completed 1 year now. It's quite challenging, I think, for everybody, not just ourselves here. As I said, we came in new here as the Commission, but as a Commission we work very well amongst ourselves, and we're also trying to work well with the rest of the public service. Our clients are mainly the ministries and departments and the permanent secretaries, which we are responsible for, because we appoint the permanent secretaries with the agreement of the Prime Minister, and we'd like to ensure that we maintain that cordial working relationship with permanent secretaries. We try and help them, assist them, guide them wherever needed. We maintain our relationship, we maintain our links with them. Every week, we're talking to different permanent secretaries on various issues, but with a view to helping them and supporting them in what they're doing. And much depends on themselves in terms of how they run their own ministries, with the support, with the of the minister concerned. Things like developing their plans, their strategic plans, their corporate plans, their business plans, their annual plans, it's there. The requirements are there, and we trust, that they will all adhere to that, and that they do it in conjunction with the ministers, and of course making sure that at the end of the year they produce the annual reports. I think we've come across cases where annual reports are behind by so many years. We don't want that to happen. We'd like that annual reports are produced on time and submitted to Parliament on time. Yeah. Because that's also a gauge of how efficient and how good permanent secretaries are performing. Not only permanent secretaries, but also the ministries and departments are running. If they are up to date with their reports, they're up to date in terms of achieving the targets set in the various plans, whether it's strategic plan, whether it's business plan, or whether it's annual plan or corporate plan. That's all part and parcel of running a ministry and a department. And we'd like to work with them, work closely with Permanent Secretary in ensuring that they operate well with their ministers. In the new year, we'll be doing the evaluation of permanent secretaries, their performance, and we'll be talking to the ministers. We'll get to know how good they are, how good is the relationship between the minister and the permanent secretaries. We hope, that things will be running smoothly and cordially between the ministers and the permanent secretaries concerned.